In the sleepy town of Willow Creek, Officer Jake Harper patrolled the quiet streets. A seasoned cop, he'd seen it all: speeding teens, drunk drivers, petty thieves. But nothing prepared him for today. It was a chilly evening when a rusty old sedan rolled through a stop sign, barely pausing. Jake flicked on his siren, pulling the car over. An elderly man, dressed in a faded jacket and a worn cap, sat behind the wheel. His hands trembled slightly, but his eyes held a calm, piercing gaze. "License and registration, sir," Jake said, his tone professional. The old man nodded, slowly reaching into the glove box. He handed over a faded driver's license and a crumpled registration. Jake glanced at the name, Edward J. Langley. His heart skipped a beat. The name felt familiar, like a ghost from a forgotten case. He stepped back, his flashlight shaking, and ran the details through his cruiser's database. The screen flickered, and Jake's face turned pale. Edward Langley wasn't just a random driver. He was listed as deceased, since 1985. A cold sweat broke out on Jake's forehead. Was this a glitch? A stolen identity? Or something bigger? His radio crackled, but he ignored it, staring at the old man, who smiled faintly. "Found something, didn't you, officer?" the man said, his voice low and knowing. Jake's instinct screamed to call for backup. He grabbed his radio. "Captain, I need you here. Now." As he waited, the old man's words echoed, "Some secrets aren't meant to stay buried." What had Jake stumbled into? Jake stood frozen, the old man's cryptic words lingering like a fog. The quiet streets of Willow Creek seemed to hum with tension. Edward Langley, a man declared dead for nearly 4 decades, sat calmly in his sedan, watching Jake with an unnerving smile. The police radio hissed, but Jake's focus was on the database results. Edward J. Langley, deceased 1985, tied to classified case file number 472. His mind raced. What was this case? Why was it locked? Headlights cut through the dusk as Captain Sarah Mitchell's cruiser pulled up. A no-nonsense veteran, she stepped out, her face stern. "What's going on, Harper?" she demanded. Jake handed her the license, his voice low. "This man's supposed to be dead. And there's a classified file attached." Sarah's eyes narrowed as she read the name. For a split second, her composure faltered, a rare crack in her tough exterior. She approached the sedan, peering at Langley. To Jake's shock, she didn't draw her weapon or call for backup. Instead, she straightened and saluted. "Sir," she said, her voice laced with respect. Jake's jaw dropped. "Captain, what's happening?" he stammered. Sarah ignored him, her focus on Langley. "We thought you were gone," she whispered. Langley chuckled softly. "I've been hiding a long time, Sarah. But the truth doesn't die." Jake's head spun. How did they know each other? What was this man's secret? Sarah turned to Jake, her expression grave. "This stays off the radio. We're taking him to a safe house." As they prepared to move, Langley leaned forward. "Officer Harper, you've opened a door you can't close." The weight of his words sank in. Jake's routine stop was unraveling a mystery. The cruiser sped through Willow Creek's dark streets, the old man, Edward Langley, silent in the back seat. Jake gripped the wheel, his mind a storm of questions. Captain Sarah Mitchell sat beside him, her face unreadable. "Focus, Harper," she said sharply. "No one can know about this." Jake glanced at Langley in the rearview mirror. The elderly man's calm demeanor felt like a mask hiding a lifetime of secrets. They pulled into an unmarked safe house, a nondescript cabin tucked in the woods. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Sarah secured the door, then turned to Langley. "Why now, Edward?" she asked. Jake's ears perked up. Langley sighed, removing his cap to reveal a scar across his temple. "I couldn't hide forever," he said. "The truth needs to come out." Jake couldn't stay silent. "Who are you?" Why's your name in a classified file? Langley's eyes met his, heavy with history. I was a government operative, son. A ghost. In '85, I uncovered a conspiracy, traitors selling national secrets. They tried to kill me, so I vanished. Jake's pulse raced. A conspiracy? Langley continued, I faked my death, lived off the grid. But those traitors? They're still out there, powerful as ever. Sarah nodded, as if she'd known this all along. He's telling the truth, Harper. I worked under him before he disappeared. Jake's world tilted. His captain was part of this? Langley leaned forward. You pulled me over, officer. Now you're in this, too. Sarah's phone buzzed, and her face darkened. We've got company. Someone knows he's here. Headlights flashed outside. Jake's heart pounded, danger was closing in. The safehouse's dim lights flickered as headlights pierced the windows. Jake's hand instinctively went to his holster. Captain Sarah Mitchell crouched by the door, her eyes scanning the darkness. Stay sharp, Harper, she whispered. Edward Langley sat calmly, as if he'd faced death before. They found me, he said, his voice steady. They always do. Jake's mind raced. Who were they? The traitors Langley mentioned? He peered outside, spotting two black SUVs parked at the edge of the woods. Shadows moved, armed figures creeping closer. Sarah's radio crackled, but she silenced it. No backup, she said. We can't trust anyone. Jake's stomach churned. His routine traffic stop had spiraled into a deadly game. Langley stood, his frail frame belying a quiet strength. I have proof, he said, patting his jacket. Documents that name the traitors. That's why they're here. Sarah's eyes widened. You've had it all this time? Langley nodded. Hid it for decades. It's my leverage, and their death warrant. A window shattered, and a smoke grenade rolled in, hissing. Jake coughed, his vision blurring. Move! Sarah shouted, pulling Langley toward a back exit. Jake followed, his heart pounding as gunfire erupted. They stumbled into the woods, the cold air biting. Behind them, the safe house glowed with flames. They're burning the evidence, Langley said grimly. Sarah led them to a hidden trail. There's another safe house, 10 miles out, she said. But Jake sensed her doubt. Were they being tracked? Langley gripped Jake's arm. You're in deep now, son. Protect the truth, no matter the cost. As they vanished into the night, Jake knew one thing, this conspiracy was far from over. The forest swallowed Jake, Sarah, and Edward Langley as they fled, branches clawing at their clothes. Moonlight barely pierced the canopy, casting eerie shadows. Jake's breath was ragged, the weight of Langley's words, protect the truth, sinking in. Behind them, the safe house burned, a beacon for their pursuers. Sarah led the way, her steps sure despite the chaos. Keep moving, she hissed. We're not safe yet. Langley, though elderly, moved with surprising grit. There's a cache, he panted. Buried nearby. My evidence, names, dates, deals. It'll expose them. Jake's eyes widened. Evidence of a decades-old conspiracy? Sarah nodded grimly. We need it. Without proof, he's just a ghost. They reached a clearing, where an ancient oak stood. Langley knelt, digging with bare hands. Jake joined, unearthing a rusted metal box. Inside were yellowed documents, photos, and a microfilm reel. This, Langley said, names senators, generals, traitors who sold out the country. Jake's hands shook as he scanned a page. Familiar names leaped out, still powerful today. Sarah's face hardened. We can't stay here. As if on cue, a twig snapped nearby. Jake spun, spotting a glint, sniper scope. Down, he yelled, tackling Langley. A bullet whizzed past, embedding in the oak. Sarah fired into the darkness, buying time. Run, she ordered. They sprinted, clutching the box, as footsteps pounded behind. The second safehouse loomed, a derelict barn. They slipped inside, barricading the door. Langley coughed, exhausted but defiant. They'll kill to keep this buried, he warned. Jake met his gaze. Then we fight. Sarah checked her ammo, her voice low. Harper, this changes everything. Outside, engines roared. The hunters were closing in, the barn's walls creaked as Jake, Sarah, and Edward Langley huddled inside, the rusted box of evidence between them. Outside, the roar of engines grew louder, tires crunching on gravel. Jake's pulse thundered. How many? He whispered, peering through a crack in the wood. Sarah, checking her pistol, muttered, too many. Langley's eyes, though weary, burned with resolve. They want the box, he said. It's their endgame. Headlights flooded the barn, and a megaphone blared. Langley, come out. No one needs to die. The voice was cold, authoritative. Sarah cursed. That's no local thug. They've sent pros. Jake's stomach twisted. Pros? Hired killers for a 40-year-old secret? Langley gripped the box tighter. They're scared, he said. This proof will ruin them. Sarah motioned to a loft above. We climb, flank them. They scrambled up a rickety ladder, the barn shaking as boots stormed closer. Jake clutched his gun, sweat stinging his eyes. From the loft, he saw 6 figures, black gear, military precision. One held a grenade launcher. Captain, Jake hissed, we're outgunned. Before Sarah could respond, the barn door exploded inward, shrapnel flying. Jake fired, dropping one attacker, but bullets tore through the loft. Langley ducked, clutching the box like a lifeline. Get him out. Sarah yelled, returning fire. Jake grabbed Langley, dragging him toward a rear hatch. They tumbled into the dirt, the night air sharp. Behind them, Sarah's gunfire stopped abruptly. Jake's heart sank. Had she been hit? Langley's voice was urgent. The evidence, Harper. Save it. Headlights swerved toward them. Jake pulled Langley into the trees, the box heavy in his hands. The conspiracy's claws were tightening, and time was running out. Jake and Edward Langley stumbled through the dense forest, the rusted box of evidence clutched tightly. The barn's fiery glow faded behind them, but the echo of gunfire lingered in Jake's mind. Sarah's silence gnawed at him. Was she alive? Langley, panting, urged him on. Keep moving, son. They won't stop. Jake's legs burned, but the weight of the box, the truth, drove him forward. The forest thinned, revealing a narrow ravine. A rickety rope bridge swayed over a rushing river below. We cross, Langley said, his voice firm despite his age. Jake hesitated, hearing distant shouts. Their pursuers were close. He scanned the bridge, old, fraying, but their only escape. Go, he said, pushing Langley ahead. Halfway across, the ropes groaned. Jake's heart raced as boards cracked beneath them. Langley clutched the box, his scarred face set. If we fall, throw it, he said. The truth must survive. Before Jake could reply, a bullet snapped a rope, the bridge lurching violently. Jake grabbed Langley, steadying him. Shadows emerged at the ravine's edge, 3 armed figures, their leader aiming a rifle. Harper, the leader shouted. Drop the box, or you both die. Jake's mind raced. Surrender meant death. He fired back, forcing the men to duck. The bridge swayed wildly. Langley's eyes met Jake's. You're a good man, he said, then shoved the box into Jake's arms. Run. Jake sprinted, the bridge collapsing behind him. Langley's footing slipped, but he waved Jake on. Go, he yelled. Jake reached solid ground, the box secure, but turned to see Langley dangling. The rifleman took aim. Jake's choice was clear: save Langley or the truth. Time was gone. Jake's heart pounded as he stood on the ravine's edge, the box of evidence heavy in his arms. Below, Edward Langley clung to the fraying bridge, his strength fading. The rifleman at the opposite end aimed coldly, his finger on the trigger. "Drop the box, Harper," he barked. Jake's eyes locked with Langley's. The old man's face was calm, resolute. "Save the truth," Langley mouthed, his voice lost in the river's roar. Jake's mind screamed to act, but the rifleman fired. The bullet grazed Langley's arm, and he slipped further, barely holding on. Jake dropped to his knees, reaching out, but the bridge was too far. "I'm coming," he shouted, desperation clawing at him. Langley shook his head. "No time, son. Go. Expose them." Before Jake could argue, Langley let go. His body plummeted into the churning river below, swallowed by the dark. Jake froze, horror gripping him. The rifleman laughed, advancing with his men. "You're next, cop." Rage surged through Jake. Langley's sacrifice wasn't in vain. He clutched the box and bolted into the forest. Branches tore at his skin as he ran, the attacker's footsteps pounding behind. The box felt heavier now, soaked with Langley's blood and legacy. Jake's radio crackled, Sarah's voice, faint but alive. "Harper, you there? I'm pinned at the barn." Relief flooded him, but danger loomed. He whispered his location, praying she'd find him. Ahead, a dirt road emerged. A lone truck idled, its driver unaware of the chaos. Jake had seconds to decide: hide, fight, or flee. The truth in his hands was bigger than him, bigger than Langley. The hunters closed in, their shouts echoing. Jake's resolve hardened. This wasn't over. Jake sprinted toward the idling truck, the box of evidence tucked under his arm. The forest echoed with the shouts of his pursuers, their flashlights slicing through the dark. Langley's sacrifice burned in his mind: save the truth. He reached the truck, yanking the door open. The driver, a startled farmer, gasped. "Drive!" Jake yelled, flashing his badge. The man floored it, tires kicking up dirt, headlights flared behind them, 2 SUVs in pursuit. Jake clutched the box, its contents the key to exposing a conspiracy spanning decades. Bullets pinged off the truck's tailgate. "Get down!" Jake shouted, shoving the farmer low. He fired out the window, hitting a tire on one SUV. It swerved, crashing into a ditch, but the second kept coming. His radio crackled. "Harper, it's Sarah. I'm 5 minutes out." Her voice was strained, gunfire in the background. Jake's hope flickered. She was alive, but 5 minutes was an eternity. The farmer's truck rattled, no match for the SUV's speed. "There's a town ahead," the farmer stammered. "Police station." Jake nodded. If he could reach it, the evidence might survive. The SUV rammed them, jolting the truck. The box slipped, papers spilling. Jake scrambled to gather them, spotting a photo of a young Langley with a senator, proof of betrayal. "Keep driving," he urged. The station's lights appeared, a beacon of hope. But the SUV pulled alongside, its driver aiming a shotgun. Jake ducked as the blast shattered the window. With seconds to spare, Jake made a choice. He tossed the box to the farmer. "Get it to the station." As the truck sped on, Jake leaped out, rolling into the dirt, gun raised. The SUV stopped. This was his stand. Comment, Truth Fights, below and subscribe for more thrilling stories. Jake hit the ground hard, his gun trained on the SUV. The driver stepped out, a towering figure in black, his shotgun gleaming under the moonlight. "You can't win, cop," he sneered. Jake's heart raced, but Langley's words echoed: the truth must survive. Behind him, The farmer's truck roared toward the police station, the box of evidence safe. For now, the man advanced, firing. Jake dove behind a tree, returning shots. Pain seared his shoulder, a graze, but he gritted his teeth. Headlights flashed as Sarah's cruiser screeched onto the scene, sirens blaring. "Harper," she yelled, unloading her weapon. The attacker faltered, caught in the crossfire, and collapsed. Sarah ran to Jake, helping him up. "The box?" she asked. "Safe," Jake panted, pointing to the station's lights. They raced after the truck, finding the farmer inside, the box on a desk. Cops swarmed, stunned by the chaos. Sarah opened the box, revealing documents, photos, and microfilm. "This is it," she whispered. "Langley's proof." The evidence named traitors, senators, CEOs, even a current cabinet member, who'd sold secrets decades ago. Jake's stop had blown open a conspiracy hidden for 40 years. Sarah called in federal agents she trusted, ensuring the truth wouldn't be buried again. "Langley was a hero," she said, her voice heavy. "And you, Harper, you finished his fight." As dawn broke, Jake stood outside the station, bandages on his shoulder. The news vans arrived, the story breaking worldwide. Langley's sacrifice, his own brush with death, it was worth it. The traitors would face justice. Jake looked at the horizon, knowing one thing: some secrets, once uncovered, change everything. Comment, Truth Triumphs below and subscribe for more epic tales.